Now one more question for you, Mr. Wayne. What do you know about Batman? Batman Caped Crusader.
That's right. Creature of the night, the world's greatest detective, Batman, is back in action in Batman Caped Crusader, fighting some well-known and new versions of characters you haven't seen before. Now the question on everyone's mind has been, has Batman Caped Crusader lived up to the heights of series like Batman the Animated Series? Well, the answer is, kind of. I watched all 10 episodes of the series, and I have to say, I actually quite liked it. This series has the star power of 3 giants in the industry. Bruce Timm, who basically created the DCAU. I mean, come on. Superman the Animated Series, Batman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited, and even more. Matt Reeves, director of the successful The Batman movie that reinvented the Batman character and focused more on its detective side. And J.J. Abrams,
we have written a Spider-Man comic book.
is known for his Star Trek reboot and Star Wars films. I still can't get over Rise of Skywalker.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Now, a lot of people have started out hating this show, but that's mainly because of one choice that the creators decided to make, which was to change the character of the Penguin. Basically, the main complaint of this show has been from episode 1, where Penguin's identity has been switched out from Oswald Cobblepot to Eswalda Cobblepot. Now, I know they gender swapped the Penguin, but it's really not that big of a deal.
Has the whole world gone batty?
The Penguin is one of my favorite characters in DC Comics, so I don't mind seeing a new fresh take on the character. I mean, that scene where they sink one of her kids down to the bottom of Gotham Harbor is one of the darkest things I've ever seen in one of these shows. I mean, I wanted to see a comic book version of Penguin myself, so I was kind of disappointed.
He was my favorite.
I don't think it should be a reason to skip the other 9 episodes of the show. And I have to say, this really didn't bother me because Bruce Timm has done similar things in the past with his shows. Batman the Animated Series is well known for its reinvention of characters like Mr. Freeze and Clayface, but also the invention of new characters such as Harley Quinn, which has gone on to be one of the most popular DC characters of all time. It even created its own spin-off show. One of the best episodes of Batman the Animated Series is Two-Face Part 1 and Part 2. Through this 2-parter, they really explored the duality between Harvey Dent and Two-Face and how he became a villain. Now, this series wasn't trying to copy this previous version of Two-Face, especially since we get to see his change from episode 1 to episode 10. We really got to see Harvey desperate to become mayor, and him funneling money from Rupert Thorne. And I was surprised by his sacrifice at the end. Like, I wasn't expecting that. I'm glad this show wasn't trying to outdo previous versions of their characters. One of my favorite episodes was the Clayface episode. I think Basil Karlo's version of Clayface was actually quite interesting. Don't get me wrong, it's no Feet of Clay or Matt Hagen's version of Clayface, but it brought something new to the character. An old, washed-up actor that has an interest in one of his co-stars. I just really enjoyed his whole dynamic. Even well-known characters like Catwoman get more of a retro design with their first appearance outfit. They also try this new take on Harley Quinn without the Joker. Harley Quinn is still a psychiatrist.
Don't you want to rev up your Harley? Vroom, vroom.
What made Batman the Animated Series so great was not only did they expand on already existing comic book characters in the show, but they created their own characters, and Batman Caped Crusader expands on that concept. We get some very obscure characters such as Onomatopoeia,
See ya.
Wouldn't want to be ya.
Nocturne.
Who?
It also brings in some sci-fi elements and some supernatural elements like Gentleman Ghost.
Well, no offense, but you look like ghosts yourselves.
Now, one of the strengths of this show is leaning more to the grounded look of Gotham City, especially because this Gotham City takes place during the mid-1930s or 1940s. The setting especially reflects this, with much less advanced technology, although Batman seems to still have gadgets of his own. I think this new Batmobile is a mix between Matt Reeves and Batman the Animated Series Batmobile. I'm glad the show decided to try something new and not just stick to previous versions of Batman. Even though the identity of Batman is there to scare the hearts of criminals,
my arm's getting tired.
We still get more of his human side kicking in. This version of Batman remembers that terrible tragedy that happened to his parents.
This place. This place.
Batman is pretty new to this version of Gotham City. I mean, even the citizens of Gotham City are afraid to go out at night seeing this giant bat. One of the main conflicts throughout the first season is Batman being hunted by the cops. Also, I really like how this series highlighted the GCPD, which we always don't get a good look in. The dynamic between Batman and Commissioner Gordon that develops is pretty similar to Matt Reeves' version of the Batman. In one of the episodes, Batman and Commissioner Gordon have to work together to get these kids out of a burning building. It's also the episode with Firefly, by the way, where they call him Firebug, but whatever. The moral ambiguity in this show is quite apparent, with a lot of the GCPD cops being bought out by the mayor. Even Bullock, who seems to be that type of gray character that's not all good but not all bad, is pretty much a villain in this show. I thought the soundtrack was great too, and it highlighted a lot of the darker moments of the show. A lot of the earlier animated DC shows were held back due to the censors and the fact they had to appeal to kids. Since Batman Caped Crusader is on streaming, they could take more liberties with the amount of violence. There's this one scene where Batman's dangling an informant over a train. I like how the first season ended, where we can clearly see a development in Batman's character. It takes Batman the entire season to see Alfred as less of a servant and more of a colleague and friend. I mean, they're not really buddy-buddy like they are in other versions. Batman's straight up mean and disgusting to Alfred. Batman has called Alfred just Pennyworth the entire first season, and in that last episode, he finally calls him Alfred, which is very satisfying.
Yes, this is Alfred.
The last scene of the first season shows us our first look at the Joker. This scene is obviously put here to try to lead us into season 2, if they even decide to have a season 2.
This has all been worked out far in advance.
Even though a lot of people don't like this series, I feel like it was overall pretty successful. It obviously was able to tell new stories in a different type of setting with a 1940s Gotham City. This show is at its best when it's taking new creative liberties to help expand the Batman universe.
Now, Mr. Wayne, you seem to have a visitor.
These videos take a lot of time and effort to make, so if you haven't already, hit that like button down below, hit the subscribe button, and turn on notifications to get notified of my future videos.